Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials. So it's Wednesday the 18th of September, and I'm recording in Sydney, Australia. So I'm going to start with my finished objects, and I have one small finished object, and that is a pair of Skimmer socks by Sheila Toy Stromberg. It's just this really cute little no-show socks that don't fall down into your shoes, and so I really like making them, and also they use really like a small amount of yarn. So this pair weighs 29.5 grams in total. Some of my other ones that are made out of slightly heavier fingering weight yarn sort of take between 32 and 34 grams. But because this is Sandnes Garn Sunday in the colour 4008, and that's a fairly light fingering yarn, 50 grams is 235 metres, so I managed to get that out of less than 30 grams. And this is the leftovers from my Poppy Tea by Petite Knit. Anyway, I'm very happy that these are off the needles because I had two pairs on the needles, and I don't particularly like having two different pairs of socks on the needles at the same time. So anyway, these ones are done. That's my only finished object for the week. So I'm just going to jump into my friend from the vault, which is usually I show something that I made earlier, and usually something that I quite like. May not be something I wear all the time, but something that I made that I'm really proud of and definitely wear and like. So I'm wearing it. This is Dark and Stormy by Thea Colman, and I knit it in 2011. When I look at my Ravelry page, I made it in 18 days, so quite a quick knit. It is a DK weight pattern with a 20 stitch gauge, and I used Madelinetosh DK in the colourway Victorian Gothic. So I've used this colour in a lightweight pullover as well. Actually, I've used this colour before and I actually really like it. It's a lovely, mostly, it's actually had a lot more purple in it in the Tosh Merino Light. But here there's really, I'm sure there is some purple in it, but you just can't see it very much. It's just sort of a, like a, what do you call it, semi-solid grey. So it is a top-down cardigan that has a shawl collar, and I used, this one weighs 500 grams, so I used about, because the Tosh skeins are more than 100 grams, I used about 4.5 skeins. So it's got, how many buttons does it have? 5 buttons, shawl collar, it's got some lace down here, and it's got cables and lace on the back. So it is top down, so I didn't have to do any kind of modifications with the sleeves like I did for the Isager cardigan. It just is actually written top down. And yeah, very easy, straightforward, well written pattern. I knit the 32-inch size and I was on gauge, so this doesn't have any ease. I can't remember where I found the buttons, but they're just a fairly simple black button. And yeah, it's really nice and cozy. It is going to be warm today. It is spring here in Sydney, but we've had a bit of a cold snap, so it has been a lot cooler lately. But it's still a little bit cool in the morning. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about it, except I do really like it. So that's my friend from the vault, Dark and Stormy by Thea Colman. So I'll get into my works in progress now. I have two new works in progress. One is not that interesting, but one is quite I'm quite happy that I've started, and that is, I think I mentioned this last week, Pure Joy by Joji Locatelli, and this is Skein Classy, which is a merino silk fingering weight, single ply. That's the colour In the Mist, and this is Mist, and this is In the Navy. I bought two of this directly from Kirsten or Kristen? Kirsten. I'll check that. I'm not sure if it's Kirsten or Kristen. Anyway, she's K10 on Ravelry, and then that's that one I bought off D-Stash. So I have two skeins of this one, which is important because for Pure Joy, a lot of people have mentioned that they needed more than one skein, or they needed 430 yards or something. I think this has 420 yards, so it's pretty good yardage, but and I think it's something you could modify by getting rid of the last wedge, but I'd like to go in knowing I have plenty of yarn. Anyway, so this is all I've done. I've started it, and I've done one of the contrast sort of sections. I don't super love how that's knitting up. Like, it just looks a bit messy and untidy. So I'm hoping it will block out better than it looks there. I did go down a needle size. The pattern recommends a 4mm, so I went down to a 3.75, partly because of that, because I was sort of thinking, look, it could do with being a little bit at a slightly tighter gauge. Yeah, I might do another wedge. Like I've just started the second wedge. I might do another wedge or sorry, maybe it's the first wedge that's like just the beginning, and then I'm up to a wedge now. And then I think I might block it and just sort of see, am I liking how it's beautiful and soft. I like the feel of it. Just hoping that I'll like the look of it a little bit better, that it will just, look a bit less untidy after it's blocked. So that's one new work in progress. The other tiny little work in progress that I had, I wanted to go for a walk, and my hands were hurting a bit from too much sock knitting, and the shore tee was a bit hard on my hands. So this is actually cotton, which you would think normally is not easy, but this is Rowan DK cotton, and the ball band actually recommends 5mm, but I used a 4.5 because 5 seemed quite large, and I just cast on a washcloth because I was going for a walk. So I did a little bit of seed stitch and then some broken rib, and that's 1 hour of walking, and it wasn't hard on my hands. Like probably, like it might look a little bit nicer if I go down to a 4mm, but it certainly is nice enough and easy enough on a 4.5. And I think I'm going to make I have 4 balls of this that my mother-in-law made something with it, and she had some left over, so she gave me the 4 balls remaining. Each ball only has about 80 meters, so it's like not even 400 meters. And I don't know that I would really, even though it's really soft and a pretty color, I don't know that I would love it in a top, even if I did have enough. So I thought it might make a nice, maybe not so much like a dish scrubby, but for a face washer, because it is actually a really nice soft cotton. I think you want maybe something a little bit a bit sturdier and a bit grippier for washing your dishes. And I have a lot of dishcloths that I've made out of cotton, but I usually make it out of something like a peaches and cream kind of cotton. But this one I think would be really nice for a face washer. You want something a little bit nicer for a face washer. So I'm going to make a few of these, I think, and give them to my daughter, Mia. She has just bought a property with her boyfriend, and even though she's not moving in straight away, she probably won't move in for a little while, she's sort of starting to, I guess, they haven't actually settled yet, so they haven't got the keys or anything yet, but she's starting to kind of pick, the paint color and the carpet and the flooring and all that sort of stuff, and working out kitchen stuff that she has. And so I just thought that might be a nice thing for her to take with her, to have some little face washes, and it's nice and easy for me to knit on when I'm going for a walk, because it's small and very easy pattern. So not that exciting, but I'm always happy when I finish these. I use the kitchen ones every single day, and I think if you make a few of these in a set and you fold them up nicely and put a bow around them, they can make quite a nice gift. But presentation does matter. If you just sort of scrunch it up and give it to someone, it doesn't look very nice. But if you sort of block it, fold it in 4, and have a set of 3 of them, maybe with a little bow around it, I don't know, it just looks nice. Right, so that's my 2 new works in progress. My other works in progress, I've got to do a little bit of trying on. I don't have to, but I do like to. The one that the next one I'm going to show you is the Shore Tee by Ventzel, and I'm using the recommended yarn, which is Trio 2 and Alpaca 1 by Isager, and these are the colours that Anne used in the photo. And what have I done? I finished the shoulder increases, and I'm pretty sure this is the front here. So I've finished this front section for now, and then I've had to come back and work on the back section. And the back goes a little bit further down than the front, so I'll just try it on. I'm a little bit, I don't know if concerned's the right word. When I tried it on, I had a look at it and went, gee, that neckline's quite high. So I had another look at the pattern, and I was like, the pattern photos, I was like, yeah, it looks pretty high on Anne too, so I guess I'll just have to accept that. That's just part of it. So if you look at it here, so this is the front. Because the back is going to be a bit longer than this front section, quite a few more rows, think it's going to sit, this section is not going to sit all the way back here. It will sit a little bit lower, I think. Anyway, at least that's what it looks like in the photos. So it's got a really lovely, very simple stitch pattern, very similar to Anchor Strick's garden cardigan, something like that, and also similar to the Charisma that I made. So it's basically like a chunk of stockinette and then like a knit two together yarn over, or a yarn over slip knit. But I guess what's different about this is sort of the construction, right? So you've got these shoulder increases here, and then I'll be working down the front here and the back, and then eventually I think joining in the round, probably casting on some stitches under the arms. I haven't read too far into the pattern, but yeah, I think it definitely is a bit sort of straight across for me. As long as it isn't too high up and choking me, I'll be okay with that. Actually, yeah, maybe when I tried it on earlier, it was just looking up a bit high, but now that I'm sort of sitting that a little bit better, I think that's going to be fine. It's got a really nice, these two together have a really nice heathered look. And it's interesting that like the 100% cotton with the Rowan DK cotton wasn't hurting my hands at all, but this really has been. So the linen, alpaca is obviously fine, but I'm knitting it together with the I don't know if it's 100% linen. I'll have to have a look what the blend is for this. I don't think it's 100% linen, but this is quite stiff and sort of strawish. Doesn't have much give. So too much knitting of this and socks, and my hands were hurting a little bit. So which is funny, then I went and knit with some more cotton, but it was definitely very easy. Easy and nice to knit with. So this has been okay, but just, too much of it and it hurts. So that's probably another reason why I couldn't imagine being a monogamous knitter, because my hands need a break. I need different needle size, I need different yarn. Because I do want to knit with cotton and linen and things like that, or socks, right? I want to make these things, but sometimes I have to put them down and work with something else. So that's the shorty. Let me see, was there anything else I was going to say about that? I don't think so. Oh, I was going to say, actually, it's been on the needles. This has been on the needles for 12 days. I started yesterday, and that was an hour's worth of walking, so that will probably be finished. If I go for a walk today, it'll be finished this afternoon. And Pure Joy, I can't remember when I started it, but probably about 3 or 4, maybe on the weekend, so maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Right, so, and yes, the shorty has been on the needles for 12 days. I should say I'm making the 37-inch size, which is the smallest size, but my gauge is a bit tighter. I'll be interested to see what it actually ends up finally blocking out to. And I'm using one needle size up, a 3.25 millimeter instead of a 3 millimeter, because the fabric was a little bit dense on the 3 mil, and it was also, gauge was way too tight. It was like 24 stitches. So I think the 3.25 is I did a lot of swatch. I did a big swatch on a 3 mil, 3.25 and a 3.5. And yeah, I think the 3.5 is going to work both for the fabric, liking the fabric, and I think it will turn out to be a good size. So my next work in progress, I have, 3 more to show you, is the Sellwood Tea by Caitlin Hunter. This has been on the needles for 10 days. I've got it on 2 needles because I actually wanted to block it just to see how it was going to, size-wise, how it was going to turn out. So I'm using Orange Flower MCS Sport. So that's Merino Cashmere Silk Sport. I have 2 skeins of that I got off D-Stash. And this reminds me of Madelinetosh Pashmina in terms of the blend and the weight and, the yardage and everything. So I went down a needle size to a 3.75 millimeter. I did not swatch because I just, I figured lace is going to, it's going to kind of stretch as much as you want it to. So it is, as I sort of, when I blocked it, I was able to either get it from 38 to inches, whatever that is, 19 inches across or 14 inches across. It was depending on how much I stretched it. So I just sort of I tried not to stretch it too much because that was going to be way too big. 38 inches for a top was going to be too big. So where it ended up is 15 inches across, so 30 inches. So on my bust, that would be 2 inches of negative ease. I am knitting the 35.25 inch size. I'm also using 1 needle size down, so I'm using that. Did I already say that? Sorry, 3.75 mil needles, because that's what I like with Madelinetosh Pashmina. on rather than the 4mm, which is recommended in the pattern. And I think that's going to be fine, because even though that's 30, obviously I can stretch that quite easily. So even a little bit of negative ease is going to be fine. So when I blocked it, this is 9 repeats of a 4-row repeat. And it is a bit like, I've got sharp needles for this because there's a knit 4 together, which is, you really want to have some sharp tips for a knit 4 together. And then there's like an equivalent, pretty easy left leaning, 4 stitches into 1 decrease on the other side of this lace pattern. Really easy pattern to memorize, but I do have these markers in here because it definitely helps keep me on track. There's some slip stitches here in between. And so when I blocked it, 9 repeats is 4 inches. So I'm thinking, I'm not sure how much this part is, I'll have to take a look, but I'm thinking I'll probably get to about 11-ish, somewhere between 11 and 12 inches. And then that's kind of the length that I'm sort of usually like under the arms. And then I'll start the upper section. But it is a bit, I'll have to take a bit of a look and see just how big this is, because the length will obviously be impacted by how much this is, not just how much this is. So let me see, anything else? Nope, I think that's it. All right, 2 more to show you. Oh, this one is a little bit, sad's not the word, because it's not sad's a bit dramatic. A bit of a bummer. So I woke up in the morning and I was like, I'm going to knit the sleeves this weekend. So I thought, right, I'm going to knit this sleeve on Saturday and I'll knit the other sleeve on Sunday, and then I'll work down the body. Well, I knit this sleeve on Saturday and it was so tight. So now I have blocked it. I'll tell you why I think it's tight, because it's too small. But one of the reasons that it's ended up tight, it's meant to be, I followed the pattern. So I'll just say that, I followed the pattern. It's meant to be, I haven't even said what this is. This is Jupiter Crop by Caitlin Hunter. It's been on the needles for 25 days. I'm using the recommended yarn from a kit, which is Vovo by Rosa Pomar. Now, I went up a needle size, so instead of a 3.25 and a 3.75, I'm using a 3.5 and a 4, so I'm already on a larger needle size for the body. Working I usually am a bit tighter magic loop, so that's definitely, and now I have blocked this actually, I'm just going to show you. Can you see the difference? I don't know if you can see the difference in the pink particularly from, I don't know if you can see or not. To me it's pretty visible right around there. It gets tighter right around here. That's where I switched from in the round to magic looping, which is in the round, but you know what I mean, different kind of normal circumference. So I should have gone, well, this is in hindsight. I also had 56 stitches on the needles, which is what the pattern said for my size, which is the smallest size. You're meant to pick up the 2 cast on stitches under the arms to get to 58, and then decrease straight away back down to 56. And then it's a 4-stitch repeat, which is different to the body. So like, it's not like you have to line everything up on the sleeves compared to the body. That's not a big deal. You just need 4, like a multiple of 4. So I thought, all right, I'll do that. Now the next size up, the sleeves are 64 stitches. So I actually picked up 4 stitches under the arms and decreased, because I like to pick up the 2 cast on ones and 1 on either side. And then I decreased them all the way on the next 2 rounds back to 56, just like the pattern said. And I knit this on 56 stitches. No other decreases. So I think what I'll do, because it is too tight and uncomfortably tight, I blocked it to see if that would make a difference. No, it's still too tight. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to go back, put it back on the needles, increase back to 60 stitches and keep 60 stitches, and I will go up to a 4.5mm. Now I bought some 4.25mm needles when I was in Japan. It's not a standard size, but they do sell them in Japan. So I bought some of those, but they're wood, and I'm knitting here with metal. So I don't know if a 4.25 on wood I'm a bit nervous about that. I probably need to do some more playing around with those because my gauge can be a bit tighter on wood needles. It might even be tighter than 4mm metal. And I think given just how tight this is, I think the 4.5, and it's ferrule, right? Although my gauge is usually pretty similar with ferrule, but I think all of those things in mind, I'm going to take this all out, but I thought I'd show you. That's why I didn't rip it out. I thought I'll show you, and I also just needed to let it sit a little bit and have a bit of a think about it before I ripped it out. So I do have 2 balls attached because I have one attached to the body and one still attached to the sleeve. So I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'll make it work. Try not to poke my eye out. Oh gosh, there was a good chance of that happening just then. Okay. So the fit elsewhere is pretty good, but this is quite tight here. Yeah, this sleeve is really, really snug. And even though I'd probably be wearing it over like a dress, this feels nice and has a little bit of, probably not a lot of ease, but maybe an inch or two of ease, whereas this is like negative ease on my which would be super uncomfortable if it was all the way down the arm. I could maybe live with that, but it's just a little bit too tight, and it's not very long, and it didn't take me very long to knit. So yep, so that will be this week. I'll rip that out and start again. But like, look at that. That's not a massive amount of knitting, so not a big deal. But look how and actually the other thing that was kind of nice is this sort of, I wouldn't wear it with a t-shirt like this. I'd be wearing it with like a sundress. The back isn't too bad. You know how I was kind of worried about it is a little bit, but if I wasn't wearing it over a shirt that it was sort of sticking to, I think it will be okay. I probably might at some point, go back and rip that out, but it's not crazy. I could live with that. And look, I'm loving how the colors are. I got the body, I hadn't even done that last time actually. I split for the sleeves. I got the body to where I'm ready to start the caramelly color, but I wanted to make sure I finished both sleeves so that then when I start working down the body, there's a section where you can lengthen it if you have enough yarn. I don't have a lot. Like that's all I have of the caramel. So obviously I'll need a tiny bit more for this sleeve with a few more stitches, and I have to do another sleeve. But actually, that's probably a reasonable amount. I think I suspect I can get it a little bit longer, like maybe another inch, just depending. I don't want it long, but I'm just don't necessarily want it super cropped. Or I just want flexibility, right? I might want to make it a little bit longer. Anyway, that's Jupiter Crop by Caitlin Hunter. Actually, I just realised I have 2 more works in progress. So 2 more works in progress. This one is Fjolla by Isabell Kraemer. It's been on the needles for 37 days. I think I forgot to mention Jupiter Crop has been on the needles for 25 days. So Fjolla has been on the needles for 37 days. It doesn't look probably much different to last week because I had to rip back. So this is Fjolla by Isabell Kraemer. I'm using Myak Baby Lace held double on 4mm needles. The pattern says 3.75, but I went up a needle size just for gauge. I'm knitting the 35 and 3/4 inch size, but it looks like it's coming out at 34 inches, which is 2 inches of positive ease, and that's plenty for me. I finished 2 balls and I was now working down the sleeves. I'll get them done and come back to the body. But I was, I can't remember who it was, a viewer mentioned that I'd made a mistake she'd noticed that I'd made a mistake in the lace pattern about back here somewhere, which isn't too far back. And I was like, you know what? And it was bad enough. Like I really appreciated her mentioning it. And but then I had to make a decision. Do I care enough? And I thought, you know what? Actually, that's not too much. I just ripped it out and I re-knit it last night in about an hour or so. So it was not a big deal. I did though, when I thought, you know what, I'm going to examine all the way and see if I've made any other errors. I noticed that there is one, where is it? I don't know. Here it is. So see how it's got 3 holes, 3 holes, 3 holes, oops, only 2 holes, 3 holes, 3 holes. So there's an error back there, but that one is just like, I don't know if you would have noticed it. If I hadn't, maybe you would have, because like, now you know, right? But that was far enough back that I was like, nah. And this one looked a lot worse than this one. This one looked quite, I don't know, something weird was happening in the lace. And so, yeah, so I'm happy I fixed this one. And I'm, you know, when you undo your yarn and you rewind it, it's quite nice when you get back to the point, you know, and you're like, okay, I'm not just getting back to where I was before. I've actually just started making a bit more progress. And so obviously, yeah, I've still got quite a bit to do. I've got the rest of this sleeve, another sleeve, and the whole body. But this feels so lovely. I'm really enjoying it. It's very easy to knit. I did make a change in terms of where my beginning of round, I think Gillian mentioned this, and it's something that I've definitely done before, but just I was probably a bit lazy. I just sort of moved the stitches around. I've changed my, not beginning of round, but I am magic looping. Having said that, I'm not going up a needle size in this, and that seems totally fine, right? Like, it's a bit tight with my Jupiter crop, but I feel fine with this one here. I'm not doing any decreases down the sleeves though, because that just feels, it's not tight, but it's just fine, and I don't want it any tighter than that. Yeah, I've moved, like, that's my start of round there, so I've got, because the lace is exactly halfway like centered around, and that's, I would normally be magic looping right down the center of it, so I've just, you know, switched it around. I've still got a marker for the start of round, but my magic loop is sort of coming at, like, just, you know, other random points. And I find with my magic loop I don't usually get ladders, so, you know, that doesn't look too bad there. Anything that's there is going to block out anyway, so yeah, anyway, I think that's really, really lovely. I'm really enjoying that, and I put a marker here that I'll move every 6 rows, so I can usually tell where I am in the pattern, but if it's late or dark or I'm tired, that's where I think I went off back here. So anyway, enjoying that one. And I'll just mention this last one before I move into my next segment. This is another pair of Skimmer socks. This is Madelinetosh sock in the colorway Earl Grey, and this is actually what was hurting my hands, because this is a much plumper yarn compared to the Sandnes Garn Sunday. The Madelinetosh, where it went, the Madelinetosh sock is much thicker, and it's got a really tight twist, so it is good for socks, but it's much plumper. And so doing that on the 2mm needles and doing the slip stitch heel was really not pleasant, and just hard on my hands. The other thing that I did a bit differently here, what did I do differently? I thought I thought I'd try, instead of wrap and turns down here, I did German short rows. I don't know that it made any difference, but, you know, I don't know if you can tell. That's German short rows, and these ones were wrap and turn. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, like, they're both reasonably decent. This one hasn't been blocked, this one has been blocked. But yes, it's the slip stitch heel. It looks really pretty, but on this thick yarn was just on a 2.25mm needle, was quite hard on my hands. Anyway, I've just picked up the stitches for along the sides, and I'm about to start doing, that's on 2mm needles. I've got like 6 rows of ribbing, and I definitely won't be doing the heel tab at the back, because I find they stay up without it, and I don't need it, and then it just is the bit that sticks out, and yeah, anyway, I don't need it, so I won't bother with it. But I reckon I'll have that pair finished certainly by next week. Right, I'm going to get this off, and then I'll get into my next segment. Right, so I'm up to acquisitions and plans. I was gifted a pattern this week by Stephanie, and that was the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. And I've been wanting to make that one for a while, because I really like the sort of grandpa style cardigan, and I've really been enjoying the champagne cardigan that I knit. It's also really oversized. So the smallest size is 41.5 inches. So I was thinking about the yarn that I had planned to use was this Peyton's Totem, which is normally knits to sort of like a 21-22 stitch gauge, and I thought about holding this Alpaca one, which is the same Isager yarn that I'm using for my shorty, so those two together, and I did a swatch of those a little while ago, and I thought that looked really, I wasn't 100% sure about the bright blue in it, like whether that's actually goes well with it or not. I don't know, like obviously just like looking at the two together, they seem like they go well, but I think I could still just use this by itself. The only thing is I only have about 900 meters. So I had quite a bit of an issue with the champagne cardigan with, looking like I was going to run out of yarn. It turned out I didn't, because I really needed to size it down anyway, and that may be the case with the Eva cardigan. So now that I have the pattern, thank you, Stephanie, I can take a look at it and see where I can make adjustments to make it smaller, and then try to figure out if this, if the 900 meters is going to work for me or not. So, if not, I might look for another yarn for it. Anyway, but I kind of am a bit locked in on that navy color for it. Sometimes I do find it hard to get that particular sort of color that it's in the pattern out of my head. So, and sometimes that happens, maybe not it's the pattern color, but I see somebody else's version of it, and then that's what's locked into my head. So, but anyway, I really like that navy color, and if I don't use that yarn for whatever reason, I don't think it's enough yarn, or I might have to do either a bit of stash diving or mentally make it a future purchase at some point, because I definitely want to make that cardigan. The other purchase that I made before last week, but it hadn't arrived. It actually arrived that day. It was very quick. And that is this Labella yarn, DK yarn from Great Ocean Road. I was inspired by Two Pearls in a Pod. They had the, I think it was called the marble color, which looked really pretty. It was really mild. Now this one is called Honeycomb, and it looked more mild, like not super mild, not like that one, but it looked a little bit more varied in the photos. So that's, and you can probably tell that there is a little bit of variation, because it is a blend. It's, it doesn't have it actually on here. It is a blend of alpaca and, I can't remember the percentages, but it is alpaca and wool. It's actually, this colour reminds me of, I've just grabbed my champagne cardigan. It is quite similar to my champagne cardigan. This one's got a little bit more yellow in it, but yeah, they are pretty close. Yeah, no, they're different. They're definitely different. They're different enough, but they sort of, it did at least when it first arrived, reminded me of that. But what I think this will be great for, so I've got 6 skeins, which is 1200 meters. I think this would be really good for the Moby pullover by Petite Knit, the Moby sweater. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and I feel like I'm really excited that I actually think I've got a plan locked in for that yarn. So, and I won't need to hold that with anything. I'm expecting I should get 20 stitches. It is 200 meters for 100 grams. So I think I should be able to, I'll swatch, but I think I should be able, will I swatch? Maybe. I should be fine to get the gauge for. I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be, because I really love my Storm sweater, and I just like the look of the Moby, and that's been in my mind for a while. And the only other acquisition that I made this week was, in my plans, I was looking at making the clay pullover by Ozetta, and I've been doing some stash sorting, and I had planned to use this Loch Lomond. And then I looked at the yardage for the clay sweater, and it was like 1,050 meters or something. And I only bought 6 balls of this, which is 6 times 50 grams, so not even a lot of yarn, but that was only 900 meters. So I bought this actually from my local yarn store, Skein Sisters, and I was there teaching on the weekend. And I thought, you know what, even if it's not the same dye lot, because I bought it 6 months ago. I thought it was even longer than that, but it was in March. I bought it in March and this year, and I thought, look, even if it's a different dye lot, I could probably get away with either alternating or cuffs or whatever. Turned out it was the exact same dye lot, so I bought one more, so I have 1,050, and they had a few more skeins in this colour. I think I might even ask them to put one extra aside, because I would like to make the grow hat. And I just, not that I'd necessarily wear them together, but I just see it in this yarn as well. So, and then that means I know I've got plenty. And the clay sweater is quite oversized. So, anyway, that's another plan and one extra acquisition. I bought one extra ball, so I have 7 skeins of that, but I think I might even get an 8th, just to be absolutely sure for the clay pullover. And I already know what I would do with the leftovers, which is helpful. Right, so that's the, I think that's it. Oh, you know what? No, there's one more plans thing. I had talked about making another baker's hat, which I think is a really cute hat, and I've been doing a lot of stash sorting, and so I was, especially when I was about to go out for a walk and I ended up casting on that washcloth, I started looking through my DK skeins of yarn where I had, close to one skein, either one skein or just under. And I think what's really been holding me back is sometimes I find a skein of yarn that I actually really like. So for example, I found this DK twist in Antler, which is a really nice, very pale grey, left over from, I think, an ebb dress that I made. And I've got about 88 grams, so I know I've got plenty because I think it took 72 grams for the baker's hat that I already made in the pink. But I was looking at this going, but this is such a good neutral, and maybe I'll want this for colour work for something else. So instead of just going, yeah, I'll make a hat out of that, and because I don't have a person in mind to make it for, I'm just making a hat for like to go for a walk and have something on my needles, I then look at that and go, but is that what you're meant to be? Are you meant to be a hat, or will I go to do a sweater and I'll need some DK neutral and I will have used it in something that it didn't, that it had another plan in mind for it. So sometimes I can get a little bit, it's like that, I can get decision fatigue in like making, like, you know, when you're moving and you're trying to sort of get rid of stuff, or you're going through your wardrobe, or even like when I go into a food court and I'm like, oh, I'd like, you know, the Thai noodles, but I also want sushi, and then I get so overwhelmed at not making the wrong choice for lunch, right? What does it matter? But then I just walk out with nothing because I'm like, oh, I can't decide. So I can get it that way a bit with yarn. Like, I could make you a hat, but what if there's something else you should be? So it goes back into stash. So that is a bit of a problem. I know I have a problem. I have to figure that out, and maybe just make the hat and just stop faffing around. Anyway, I thought I'd share that. Kind of crazy. I don't know if anybody else has that, but that's one of my, I'm sure I have more. Right, so maybe that will become a baker's hat. Maybe I'll get over it, or maybe I will find a perfect I don't knit a lot of DK Feral sweaters anyway, so maybe it should just be a hat. All right, enough on that. Okay, I was about to start thinking of another thing that it could be, like, you know, like a stripe in a stripy DK sweater or something, but or a pillow, a colour in a pillow, but the options then overwhelm me. I think I should just cast on the hat. Anyway, I think I'll make a nice hat, don't you think? Like a nice... Anyway, enough on that. I'm up to what has caught my eye. So this is actually a cute little cardigan that I saw on Instagram. I don't know when it was actually, the pattern came out, but the pattern's called the Pink One Cardigan by Lily Kate Makes. And the version that I saw on Instagram was actually a brown cotton one. So the pink version has these sort of ruffles at the sleeves, which definitely is not my thing. But the brown one, it had this really, like, it was quite a fitted top, but then it had these big balloony lace sleeves. And it was in a DK cotton, and when you looked up closer at it, like, I liked it a bit more from afar. When you look closer at it, I thought, oh, I'm not a huge fan of 20 stitch gauge cotton for a garment. But when I looked at the pattern, it has, the smallest size is 38 inches, and that's quite a lot of ease. So for, you know, a cardigan. So I thought it might be nice in a lighter weight cotton. So like maybe one of my sport weight cottons, or a Rowan cotton glacé, which I get about 23 stitches, 23, 22 might be better for that. And then that would also naturally bring it down in size. So yeah, I just thought that was just looked really pretty and quite dramatic with the sleeves. I'm not sure what I'd wear it with, but yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess she's wearing it in the Instagram reel. She's wearing it with sort of tailored pants, and it looked really cute. So yeah, anyway, it caught my eye. I thought I'd just mention it. And the other thing that's caught my eye, but not in a great way. Now, I don't normally, this is a pattern that's in testing, so I am curious as to how it ends up. I'm not in the test. It's called the Aryan Sweater by Kadri. And when I looked at the picture on Instagram, it's got a sort of a higher neck, but then it has this hump. I'll put a picture of it up there, like a bit of a hump here. And I've only ever seen that in a couple of other sweater patterns by, or sort of, not always sweaters, but one was the Paloma sweater and Turtle Dove by Espace Tricot. And both of them, when I've seen people's projects, like on the hanger, that these sweaters are not modeled on, when you look at the pattern photos, they're not on a person, they're on a hanger. But then when you see people wear them, they all have this bubble here. And I think it has something to do with placement of the short rows, that if the short rows don't come far enough into the center, it pulls things in such a way that it bunches the fabric up here. So I'm curious, after testing and seeing people's projects, if that comes out. So Kadri's obviously designed quite a lot of patterns, but sometimes if a designer sort of branches into a different kind of neckline, and maybe the short rows need to be a little bit different. And in particular, one of the things that I noticed is that for Turtle Dove and Paloma, they both have this higher kind of neckline. So that seems to be causing a bit of a problem with the hump thing that occurs underneath the higher sort of collar or whatever. Anyway, it's something that I will be keeping an eye out for that pattern to see if that either gets sorted, or if people's in their project pages they mention it, and if there's, because I actually really want to understand the maths behind it. What has gone wrong in the numbers? Is it the short rows? Is it the increases? Has if it's a raglan increase, are they not increasing at the right kind of rate, such that you've got this extra fabric here that doesn't belong here? And how could you modify the numbers for that to not occur? Anyway, and I think I remember Knee Knits is making the Paloma sweater, and I think she mentioned something like that on her. For hers, I'll have to have another look at her video. She definitely talked about it, and I think she was either adding short rows or changing the short rows up a little bit, but I'll take a look and see exactly what she mentioned, because I want to see that. I want to see what have people done that, and I think in Turtle Dove, maybe it was Turtle Dove 2, there was a lady who, and I'll put a link, I don't know if I can link to other people's projects, but I'll mention her name on Ravelry, or her username on Ravelry. Her Turtle Dove 2, she did a modification of this short rows, and I think for her that eliminated the hump. But I'd like to have a better understanding of exactly what it is that's actually causing it, and how the numbers could be different to make it. And I'm sure that would be interesting for designers too, right? Because they don't want nobody wants a big lump in their sweater right here. Anyway, I think that's what's caught my eye this week. I don't think I'm not going to do every segment that I normally do. And I think maybe that's to sort of avoid my podcast getting over an hour and it taking forever for me to edit. I'd still like to keep doing this weekly, but maybe I won't. Not every segment will be in every week. So, for example, I haven't done anything on my crochet basket. So, and I had planned to rip that back. So if I haven't done anything on it, I probably won't, show it again. It's nothing to show, new from last week. Or I haven't had time to go through and look at my, rarely worn knits. So some segments won't necessarily be in every week. But I guess, there's always going to be finished objects and works in progress. And I do really love my friend from the vault section. At some point, I'm going to run out of things to show that are, the vault will be empty. I was actually going to show maybe that's what I'll finish on. I was going to show my ghost horses this week. And I thought I hadn't shown it before, but I actually have shown it. But I guess it's almost in my plans, actually. I have it in front of me because I was going to show it. And then I was like, oh, I already showed it. But I actually might mention it in my plans because I saw, it's not really an upcoming, maybe it's a What Has Caught My Eye. Yeah, I'm still in What Has Caught My Eye. So let me add this one at the end. Margot Chien does the most amazing projects and with the most incredible colors. And so she did a ghost horses that she showed recently. I don't know when she made it, but it sort of had this, it was, I think, a brown base with this lime green horses. So this is my version of Ghost Horses by Caitlin Hunter. And I used Madelinetosh. If you've already seen this, sorry, I won't go too much into it. I think it was in my episode 18. I used Madelinetosh sock pose in the colorway Posy, which is the same yarn as my, so there's Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light. And then there's an MCN fingering. They have lots of 4-ply yarns, but this is the actual sock. And so I'm using that in this sock as well, the Skimmer socks. That's just a little bit of the ball that I had left over. It's not a great one for colour work though. I'll show you. If you're picking yarns for colour work, you don't really want, see that tight twist? That's really not good for colour work because it doesn't, a tight twist is I want to be just by myself and I don't want to play with anyone next to me. So it doesn't, which is not what you want for colour work. You want them to sort of smush a bit into each other. So I don't know if you can see there. See how the Posy doesn't want to play as well as this is like a gradient yarn cashmere. No, that's the blend, or fiber optic yarns, it's not cashmere, but Kashmir, this gradient yarn, that's, and what's all this purple, like it fades into that purple. I think the colorway is called Smoke on the Water. That yarn was much better. Doesn't have as much of a tight twist, but it's still not perfect, but it's much better than the Posy. Anyway, that was my Ghost Horses, and I saw Margot Sheehan's beautiful version with this electric green, and I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind making that again. But this pattern has some problems, right? Like this yoke depth is 10 inches, which is just so long. It's very high in the neck. Yeah, there's some long floats, but you just got to deal with that if you want sort of a crazy pattern like these horses, these flying horses. So I'd have to live with that. But I'm thinking if I was to make it again, I would maybe ditch some of this down here so that, the yoke isn't quite so long, because it ends up sort of sitting out here and then the top comes down from there. Either that, I don't know, I'm just a bit inspired to make like a really kind of vibrant fingering weight top. Because I'm enjoying this Jupiter crop. This is sport weight, but I'm enjoying this, but it's obviously quite muted. And I feel like something, really poppy, like my Alpine Bloom was really poppy with the navy and the peach Bellini underneath it. Anyway, all that to say, I'm either thinking about Ghost Horses. The other one that I'm thinking about doing is Art Nouveau by Eleanor Mortensen. So, and I'd like to take a look at my stash yarn and see what I have that might work for either of those. So I guess it's a what has caught my eye. I'd like to make one of those, but I don't have yarn ready for it, so I can't really call it a plan. Okay, so that's it for all my regular segments. If you're leaving me now, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week for my last, or for an episode before we go on holidays, and then I'll be off for a couple of weeks, but I'll try and put some other videos like my answers to the Q&A and my stash video in for the weeks that I'm away. So just really briefly on my personal stuff, I taught at Skein Sisters on Saturday. That was where I managed to pick up the extra skein of yarn. And I taught a short rows class, so that was really fun, and a knitting socks from the toe up class. So also really fun. They were pretty full classes, and a couple of viewers were there, so that was really nice. Erica and Jenny were there for, Erica was there for both classes and Jenny for the socks class. So that was really nice. It's always nice to actually get to see people, that, especially, if they've commented or whatever, get to meet them in person. So yeah, those classes were fun. Then I'm trying to think what else happened. Then I came home and had to deal with my poor Jupiter crop sleeve thing, and then do housework, all the other boring stuff, marking. But today is my son's 18th. He's not 18. His 17th birthday. It is the 18th. He turned 17 today. So we went. Actually, I think that might be him. Oh no, that's my other daughter. It's quite a full house here at the moment. Anyway, we went for breakfast this morning at the cafe, and then we're going to go out for Chinese tonight. For the rest of this week I've got coming up, I've just got a lot of marking to do, and because we're going to Bali in 9 days. So quite a bit. There's I think I'm actually leaving on the last day of school. We fly out at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I finish teaching that day at 12. So it's going to be like finish teaching, get myself together and head off. So yeah, quite a bit to do. Got to pack. I've got to think what knitting am I going to take. That's why Pure Joy. That will be great for travel knitting. So a shawl is always really good because you don't even have to worry about fitting anything where I'm up to the second sleeve. It's a bit tricky because Bali's like 29 degrees Celsius and like with a bottom temperature of 23 degrees Celsius, which is kind of like, between 73 and 85 Fahrenheit. So if I took a sweater that only had one sleeve left to go, yes, I know what I need to do and I don't need to try it on or anything. But, it's like I have to cart that with me, and I'm certainly not going to wear it there when I finish it. But, like maybe Fjolla would be quite good for that because it doesn't take up a lot of room. It'd be pretty light, and at least I would get it, I'd get it finished. So, yeah. And no, I'm not likely to need to wear a yak sweater in that kind of weather. But yes, I do need to pack. I do need to think, what am I going to take? And obviously Pure Joy is a very sensible. I'll always take way more than I need to. But that's okay. I like having options. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was a little bit shorter than some of my other episodes lately. And yeah, I'll be back next week for my last one before we head away for holidays. All right, hope everyone's enjoying their knitting, and I'll see you next week. Bye.